rent university. Man's rent is what? The HRA that she forgoes plus maybe there will be a license fee. License fee is marginal, 1,000 rupees or maybe 800 rupees. My license fee used to be 1,200 rupees and the HRA foregone will be around 45,000 in Ahmedabad. So let's say my rent is 45,000 rupees. On a square foot basis you calculate, it may come whatever. Let's say the house is 1,000 square feet, then it will be how much? Divided, so 4,500 rupees per square feet. That is, but what is the highest, what is the rent which a vendor outside Dadar station pays? A vendor who squats on worth maybe these 4 tiles in terms of bribes and hush money. Somebody had calculated, I haven't brought those figures here, but this example that he probably pays something like, it may run into 60,000-70,000 rupees per month, that kind of rent. Because हो सकता है हर महीने 1,000 रुपया, हर दिन का 1,000 रुपया हफ्ता देता होगा. Or just go outside maybe also, in a smaller town also, the marginalized person who is a street vendor, and maybe he is squatting on somebody's land, maybe government land, he pays some protection money to somebody. So the point is that you pay exorbitant rates. Second thing is, maybe your travel requirement goes up. You have to travel far more to access credit, or as we said, that financial inclusion is just not credit, but even remittance. Let's say you are a small shopkeeper and you have got some money and you want to keep it safely. So maybe you travel to a far off place. So your travel cost goes up. Your third thing is, of course, there is always also probably the probability of losing the money that you have kept it hidden in your folds of your sari or some corner of your house or in some almirah and not in a safe place. So these are the costs which are there to the individual. What about the cost to the economy? At a macro level, at an aggregate level. So can somebody again, as I said, that we'll keep it interactive. So what happens if there are a lot of people who are financially excluded? What happens to that economy? क्या रुक जाएगी?
Flow of money.
I'll just go and get my bottle which I used.
Digital India concept को टेलर.
Pardon?
Digital India concept को टेलर.
Sorry, I didn't get it.
Digital India.
Digital India.
No, my question is very simple. Let's say that there are 400 million people who don't have access to bank and they are financially excluded. So they are suffering, but at an aggregate level, how does the economy gets hurt? That's the question I'm asking.
That affects the privatization of the market.
GNP affects that.
Money supply also reduced.
I'll just combine both your points, man's and yours. What do the banks do? They do something called financial intermediation, right?
Yes.
Financial intermediation. What would that mean? Whether it's bank or capital markets or even insurers, what do? They do financial intermediation. So what banks do? They take your deposits and they lend it, right? So when so many people's savings are inside their houses, or maybe they are being translated into some other kind of assets, because you must have heard of another very interesting observation about Indian economy, that India में सबके पास बहुत सोना है. Everybody has got a lot of gold. Why? When you become little prosperous also, and if you have the savings habits, then what you do? You convert that cash into gold. And pardon me?
Savings
it's a way of saving. Now, there could be historical reasons, there could be even cultural reasons, and I'm not saying this is the only reason, but probably this is also a reason that lot of people don't feel confident of this, they don't feel confident of their access to formal and modern way of savings and investment. Like I can give you my personal example. When I started earning money, my parents started telling me कि थोड़ा सोना भी खरीद लो. And I'm giving you a very honest picture. मैंने कहा मुझे सोना नहीं खरीदना है. तो उन्होंने कहा नहीं सोना खरीद लो. I said why should I buy सोना? I will buy equity, I will buy shares, or I'll put my money in GPF, or I will do something else. And later on, when the gold bonds came, I started putting money in sovereign gold bond. But I don't have any physical gold for two reasons. One is that it's so cumbersome to hold physical gold, right? Is it or not? There is a cost to holding it. And second thing is, frankly, a gold held is not a productive. It's not a productive asset. It's not bringing money in circulation, and if the money is not in circulation, it's not a productive. Yes, so it's not going to do that. So what is happening? That when you don't have access to, you are excluded from the financial instruments, access to the credit markets, access to the deposit markets, then what happens? That this deposit and lending financial intermediation, this somewhere comes down and the economy suffers. And the again, later in the day, I would have come to that example, but I'm fast forwarding it. When the Jan Dhan Yojana was started, everybody said कि गरीबों के पास तो इतना पैसा नहीं होगा. You look up the figures, it's a staggering figure in the Jan Dhan accounts, the amount, and that has come into the formal banking channels. And that of course is being used for investment purposes. So when there is a financial inclusion at an aggregate level, at a macro level, if you would like to call it, one of the things that happens is this. Second thing, what do the banks do? Banks borrow, they borrow from us, that is the deposits. So their deposits are, our deposits are their liabilities. They keep a certain sum as per the prudential norms, and then rest they lend. But what is the typical typical bank's profile? Their deposits can be withdrawn at any time. They are on call. If everybody decides to withdraw, then there will be a run on the bank. Now, if all the deposits are not spread in terms of the numbers, and if the number of depositors are less and the deposits are high volume, let's say all of us deposit 1 crore rupees. Okay, all of us. And the number is less. So the bank is running on the basis of all the people in this room. And all other people on the campus, they are not depositing. Okay, so the probability of all of us trying to withdraw at the same time goes higher than if the universe is expanded. Right? If you are a subset of this universe, the universe is all the people on this campus, which may be 3,000 people. Whereas we are only, say, 30 odd people. So what happens? That probability of 30 odd people one day getting up and within 10 days withdrawing all their money is far higher than the probability of 3,000 people getting up one day and withdrawing all their money in 10 days. So your asset liability spectrum gets skewed, but when you have more people who are financially imprudent, then this consequence comes down. And so your banking system's propensity to have shocks will be less. So these are some of the things which happens when you are financially, you have a large proportion of population which is financially excluded. Do you have what they call that liquid now? If we have that, it's right here. I can see. Can I use it now? I'll use it. Volume spray, no?
Yes, sir.
थोड़ा सा, can you help me? Just pull this. Pull it like, otherwise it will go on your face. So we have stopped using traditional blackboard, man. That's board with chalk gone. We removed it because we thought that chalk dust is toxic, but this is equally toxic. And these days you have chalks which are dust free. So maybe some of us can still use it. In Pilanina, we have a blackboard running from this corner of the wall to this corner. So you can divide it into 3 parts. And what they classically taught us in our teaching workshop in the beginning was, in the first you write what you are going to tell them, and then you tell them, and then you tell them what you have told them. So this is one thing which, this slogan, some of you will become teachers, and all of you as PhD scholars will be making presentations. So there is this simple rule. First you tell them what you are going to tell them, then you tell them, and then you tell them what you have told them. Okay, I hope you liked it. So, we looked at the consequences. Then we look at what are the barriers to the financial inclusion. And as I again said, I am not making it very comprehensive. So we look at again the demand side barrier and the supply side. You can call it barriers, you can call it constraints. Call it perfect. Can I use this?
Yes, sir, please.
So from the demand side, I'm sure that intuitively you'll be able to come up with some ideas. From the demand side, what can be the barriers to financial inclusion?
Low level of the saving.
Yes, sir, low level saving.
Low level of savings would come much later probably. It is there, but
Poverty, extreme poverty.
okay. But how does, again, let's go deeper. How does being poor from the demand side?
Low income.
See, it can be argued that it could be from the supply side if you are poor. That somebody, the banker is not going to supply you those services. But how does, what is it, what characteristic of being poor doesn't allow you?
Sir, actually, bank ask the deposit more, like any banking.
Yes.
Otherwise,
Yes.
they don't like to poor people. They deposit less money.
Right.
And the bureaucracy cost is increase. It's other matter that Jan Dhan account is forcefully
Right.
imposed by government.
Okay.
That's why the banking system, they ready to open the account.
No, I wanted to motivate the discussion, so I want to start from the very beginning first. We are there, we are right, both of you are right. So I'm not saying that you are not right. I'm saying what part of being poor makes you not be able to access financial services.
Intensity of the money, sir.
Pardon?
The money will be.
पैसा ही नहीं है, वो तो ठीक है, उससे भी पैसा भी है थोड़ा बहुत, लेकिन पैसा ही नहीं है तो डिपॉजिट नहीं कर रहे, लेकिन क्रेडिट भी तो चाहिए, आपके पास पैसा नहीं. What is it of being poor?
They don't have
Low level
asset.
of interest level.
They don't have asset. So how do they take loan?
They don't have asset, but then they need credit.
So how bank lend
What,
credit?
I am repeating my question. What characteristic of being poor makes you not being? I think one of the characteristic of being poor is that you are not very well informed.
Sir, situation of unemployment.
जी मैम?
Situation of unemployment.
Definitely. But you are poor, but you are poor because you are unemployed. But my question is, for whatever reason you are poor, what is it of being poor? Let's say that
Sir, low literacy rate from where?
yes,
Low literacy.
that's the first thing. Awareness, low literacy, and probably the lack of confidence. You know, like all of us would have passed through that phase, and some of us may be still passing through that phase. ये तो ओमेगा का शोरूम है, मैं तो नहीं जा सकता अंदर. You must have done that.
Yes.
Let me tell you, for a long time while I was posted in Bombay, I did not approach ICICI Bank. I was in Mumbai in early 2000 when ICICI was the smartest bank. I thought ICICI will not value me as a customer. They would probably only like very, very high paying corporate customer. Would you walk into even today maybe to HSBC? I'm talking about us. Probably, how many of you would walk into HSBC? How many of you have an HSBC account? How many of you have American, except maybe madam and sir? Nobody will have an American Express credit card. किसी के पास है?
नहीं है,
मेरे पास नहीं है.
किसी के पास नहीं है.
And honestly, so far, nobody approached me with an MX card. And even if they had approached me, I think I would have declined politely. So we are talking about us. So then just put your shoes, your feet into the shoes of maybe the person who lives in the nearby village. Will he or she have the confidence to walk into SBI's bank branch?
Yes, sir. They can, sir. SBI they can, but they
So
don't.
Union Bank is
Access Bank or this ICICI Bank.
Probably some of them would not do. I'm sure that madam is from Department of Anthropology. I'm sure she would have done a lot of field work. And even today, see, we are talking about, I'm also going to come at the age profile and the demographics. Maybe the youngsters at this age, everywhere are very confident. I, for one thing, have the good fortune of interacting with all sections of society across the country. So I can say that yes, youngsters from any age group, from any demographic profile, from any socio-economic profile, but maybe people who are in their 40s, they would not walk into a bank.
So they're likely to visit a cooperative bank or a Grameen bank.
Or a post office.
Post office.
And you know, this is not only true for India, this is true for UK, where a lot of people would not walk into a bank, but would walk into a post office. So the first thing, I mean, because some of you gave the answers which just came little ahead of my story, but they are valid answers. So probably the first thing is, you can call it both literacy as well as numeric literacy maybe. And as madam said, confidence, something on those lines she said. Awareness.
Lack of information is related to literacy also.
Now there is also something called, socially instituted learning.
Yes, sir.
I'll give you a totally, like say, ma'am is my, in Odia they call elder sister as Appa, if I'm not wrong. So she is my elder sister and she has written GRE and NET. I already have the confidence to write NET. Appa ने लिखा है तो NET लिख दूंगा मैं. GRE भी लिख दूंगा. And then I have heard stories that my great grandfather was a graduate.
Yes, sir. Confidence.
So I already have this thing. Now imagine nobody in your family has gone to bank and put money. You will think pata nahi bank kha jayega. Because how do you distinguish between the Sharda,
And Maldives.
the chit fund and the SBI and the post office? You probably don't if you are a tribal from Simlipal. Or even you are a tribal from Dindori or nearby villages, because you don't have the distinction. Like let's say, you must have seen a lot of people, when you do the Google search, the moment the search results are thrown up, you know which result is valid and which one is not relevant or is not a very trusted site. We all have that innate sense, right? It is not as if the first result is the most trusted one. Not necessary, but we would know. How we would know? Like let's say you are looking for a university, okay, .ac.in. Trusted site. But you have some flyby other universities, they may not have .ac.in because .ac.in is given by a certain body, and before that उस जमाने में मैम के जमाने में .net.in होता था. in 95 when the internet was not spread. So you already knew .internet. .in. This was exclusively for the scientific community. इंडिया में इंटरनेट के पास पहले आया था, फिर बाद में सबके पास आया था. The joy of being little older than you people. I can tell some more stories. So there are not always disadvantages of being older. There are advantages also. So you know the trusted site, right? So similarly, you know the trusted banking institutions, trusted financial institution. So there is also this thing that you have the inherent learning curve which comes, but if you are a first timer, customer of formal financial system, then you are going to have, so these are barriers. Pardon?
Hesitation.
You not only hesitation, it is, I am just broadening on awareness literacy, in the sense you are not fully informed, or you are not well informed, or you are not correctly informed. You cannot evaluate.
So sense of security भी नहीं है.
You cannot evaluate. That's why, see, let's say you are a student aspiring to enter a PhD program. Okay, you can evaluate that central government, central university. So what is going to be its academic standards, what is going to be the academic standard of its faculty, what is going to be the infrastructural standard. Let's say, instead of that you think of lovely professional university. You don't know. It may be very good. It may not be good. You don't know how to evaluate it unless, मेरे बाजू में my cousin has gone. वो तो बोल रही है अच्छा है. Cousin जहाँ पे पढ़ रही हो तो अच्छा ही बताएगी. How do you evaluate? So then you have this NIRF ranking or something. But again, we all know that some of those rankings may or may not capture everything. But let's say, again, giving the example of madam, that madam is your neighbor or aunt or grandmother or sister. She knows, she is an academic, a very senior academic. She will tell you, okay, on these parameters and overall, this is likely to be a good institution. You have the confidence. So you make a right decision. Otherwise, you end up with Sharda, Narda or any other chit fund and end up losing all your capital. I know a lot of people, even middle class, reasonably educated people, who still do something like this, that they give their money to some kind of a Sahara India, yes. Since Madam mentioned Sahara India, I cannot but help narrate one anecdote very quickly. I was visiting Kharagpur, that time I was director males for the Bengal. So in Kharagpur there is this school of intellectual property rights, Rajiv Gandhi School of Intellectual Property Rights, where one of my friends was teaching. So I stayed on for a day, and I wanted to experience the campus life again, having lived in a beautiful campus like Pilani for 10 years. So I stayed on, and I went to the campus market for a haircut. While I was having the haircut, the fellow, the barber, somebody came to meet him with a register, some diary, and he handed over 100 rupee note. That fellow wrote something, and he left. So I quickly understood कि ये कोई चिट फंड वाला है. So I asked him, ये कौन है? तो बोला ये सहारा वाला है. मैंने कहा आप इसको पैसा क्यों दिए? बोला सर ये रोज आता है, 100 रुपया ले जाता है, मेरा कुछ जमा तो हो जाता है. तब तक शारदा हो चुका था. So I said, but have you not heard of Sharda? He said, I have heard of. Then I said, I didn't tell him that I am a postal officer. I said that post office तो ये पास में ही है, आप वहाँ क्यों नहीं जमा कर देते? He said, sir ये रोज आके ले जाता है, तो मेरा 100 रुपया बच रहा है. मतलब it is something like I'm putting every day in a piggy bank. So the chances of me saving are very high, but I really can't walk across to the post office every day, fill the form and put 100 rupees. तो मेरा saving इधर हो रहा है. I'm telling you, if you ever decide to work on financial inclusion, I'm trying to give you some of the real life stories. That it could be as simple as this. This person was reasonably aware. This person is very committed to saving, but he's not accessing a formal financial system simply because Because something. So psychology. So these are some of the. Then what about the supply side? Supply side, somebody had already said. I think sir had said, or somebody from this corner, that transaction costs are very high, isn't it? Like again, if say village in northeast, people are very sparsely populated. Collecting their deposits become very expensive. So the supply side transaction costs are very high. Second thing, as I said, putting up physical infrastructure can be, means it is just not possible. It's economically not feasible to put all the say brick and mortar banking institutions. So you have infrastructural issues. And then of course, communication. बैंक में तो सब बाबूजी हैं। जब रूरल रीजनल बैंक बनाया था तो क्या सोचा था कि ये गांव वालों के नजदीक होंगे। Just interrupt me if you are not able to follow. I am breaking into Hindi because I saw ma'am also translating into Hindi. But if some of you are not able to follow Hindi, then I'll just translate everything into English. So I'm very means I respect both the languages or all the languages equally, very proudly. So I will be very happy to speak in Hindi also. But if because of I have been told that the student body is national, as befitting a national university. So if you are not able to follow, just raise your hands. So RRBs, you know all regional rural banks? So what happened? Regional rural banks were envisaged to be little, more friendly, specific to the rural population, more friendly to the rural population. But then everybody wanted to be the Bada Saheb. They wanted to be like the SBI. They didn't want to be dhoti kurta wala. So slowly what happened? RRBs became as distant as others, and for other reasons also. So RRBs, I am talking about communication. So even RRBs did not fulfill the role they were supposed to fulfill. Okay. So these are some of the supply side barriers. Now we have looked at some of the issues. We see what are some of the things that we did in India. Some of these issues I know are common to across the world. Some of our strategies are also common to the strategies adopted in developing, and you'll be surprised, even UK, even the USA, they have problem of financial exclusion. It is not as if only the developing countries or emerging countries or less developed countries have this problem. This is a problem across the world. So then what are some of the strategies that have been there? Well, you can make the decision about the blackboard, or it's the university policy? Just asking. What kind of autonomy is there? Means you can decide that in your faculty, in the faculty of which you are the dean, you can have what kind of teaching aids, or it's a university policy.
It's a university. But we can intervene in that because I am thinking to provide a computer lab to the faculty, just school at least.
Okay.
Just today only I wrote the application. And we have
सरकार जो कहना है मैम, थोड़ा सरकार ये कहना है कि मतलब ये जो व्हाइट बोर्ड है इसकी जगह ब्लैक बोर्ड जो होता है ना डस्ट फ्री चौक वाला.
No, I just wanted to know how things happen here. So, some of the issues came up when we were talking about the barriers. One of the points that somebody made was, let's say that identity कैसे prove करेंगे, right? What we commonly know as KYC norms. So KYC norms, one though there has been a lot of efforts over the years to simplify it, and the beautiful thing called Aadhaar has come, right? No, again PAN card कितने लोगों के पास है? नहीं आपसे नहीं पूछ रहा हूँ, देश में कितने लोगों के पास है? आपके तो सबके पास होगा ही और होना ही चाहिए. In fact, I would say only few hands were raised. I would say that each one of you apply. When I was in college, I had applied for PAN card and I applied for the passport. So apply for these two documents immediately after the lecture.
Yes, sir.
So KYC, Aadhaar has made it very simple. Now it has not only made it simple, it has brought transaction cost. See, Aadhaar has from the supply side, means from the individual's point of view, it has made life very easy. But if you look at it from the service provider's point of view also, it has brought down substantially their transaction cost. Therefore, they find it more, see, to service an account, there is a huge amount, I think probably for one, there have been studies, and I'm going to tell you one thing. This itself can be a very good research question or part of a small paper, how the transaction costs have come down because KYC, you have Aadhaar. If you just look at a time series study of how various instruments, financial instruments, their transaction cost has come down because of ease of Aadhaar. It will be a very specific, beautiful study. You can create a paper out of it. So my whole idea of this talk was to motivate some questions or some knowledge gaps. This is one thing I see. I haven't seen any empirical study on how much transaction costs have come down. Then, of course, another idea had been thrown up by somebody in the audience only, that basic accounts. Basic accounts which you can make it in a no-frills accounts, right? किसी ने बोला था वो जबरदस्ती किया गया है जनधन अकाउंट, ठीक है? जबरदस्ती को थोड़ा sophisticated language में कहेंगे by fiat, by the government decree, right? Now let me tell you one thing. This has been done not only in India. US has a law which specifies anybody with who wants to deposit $2 and ready to keep minimum $0.25 or something like that can open an account. Okay, and there are laws. Then France has a law that says that nobody will be denied a banking account.